All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the video. I've got a great one here for you today to help inspire and ideally get you to your first $1 million month. This video is gonna be a tiered list of each one of the different most common strategies. We had this request from a subscriber of the channel, wanted to know, hey, out of all the different ad strategies, out of all the different funnel strategies that there are, what is most probable to help create $1 million months? And it was a phenomenal question. For everybody who's unaware who just hasn't seen this style of video before, allow me to break it down for you. So what you see here in front of you are S, A, B, C, and D. Anything that's S tier is going to be considered the highest probability to help get you to $1 million months. Anything that is a D tier, and this is an escalating scale. So S, the best, A, great, B, good, C, could be a lot better, D, I don't like it at all. That's going to be our list structure here. I'm going to go through each one of these different funnel strategies, ad strategies, and essentially just list them out for you. So you can understand from an advertiser's perspective who spends a couple $1 million a month and helps get businesses to $1 million plus a month in revenue, what that looks like from my perspective. So without further ado, welcome to the channel. We're gonna dive right in. Okay, starting off, we got webinar strategies straight to a sale. So just give you a little background on this. This would be an example for you. This is a past client as well. We had spent about $700,000 a month on ad spend, driving traffic straight to an opt-in page. Hey, come watch this webinar. The webinar, give or take the time that we were running it, was what we referred to as an on-demand webinar. This on-demand webinar would essentially play as soon as the person opted into it. This was a 2.5 hour long webinar, to be clear, and this webinar would pitch a $2,500 product that the person could buy straight away. They didn't have to get onto a call. They didn't have to jump through any hoops besides watching the 2.5 hour webinar in order to buy. All they had to do was wait until the call to action towards the end of the webinar and they could jump in and purchase. That webinar straight to sale as a funnel strategy is a killer. However, it has what we refer to as the pendulum effect. There's a great book literally called The Pendulum, and it's pretty simple to understand. And this goes for almost all things in life. Things swing back and forth, from one way to the other. There's times in life where, there's entire culture shifts that occur globally. That's as big as the pendulum can be. All the way down to things like this, where there's times where webinars work really well. There's times where webinars don't work at all. There was a good, 4-year period of time where webinars just kind of stopped working. So at the same time though, to be fair, there was the glory days of webinars, which I believe are actually coming back. So this funnel, I would consider an S tier funnel strategy if it didn't have the pendulum effect that impacted it so much for such a long duration of time. Because to be clear, this list is ideally timeless. To be fair, probably won't be. But because of that, the webinar strategy is an A tier strategy when you drive straight to a sale, simply because, once again, webinars are reliable. They work great literally right now while I'm sitting here talking to you. But if this was like 2-3 years ago, I would sit here and tell you the webinars didn't work as well. There was simply put just a lower probability during that time frame. There were still people crushing it, but a majority of people who had previously crushed it weren't crushing it anymore. Okay, now on that same note, webinars, but booking a call. We have a client literally right now that's tacking on anywhere from $400K to all the way to $700K a month with a webinar strategy with a $10,000 offer in it. It is a little over an hour and a half. Sometimes it goes as long as 2 hours, depending on the amount of time for Q&A. And this strategy crushes. Now, to be clear, it's important to note, although I just articulated webinars that go straight to a sale as having a glory day and then a terrible window of a good 4 years. Man, webinars that lead to a call, for some surprising reason, have just continued to crush year over year over year over year. And there has been a very short duration of time, if any, where we've seen droughts with them, where they aren't as effective as they historically were. So I just want to be clear. Webinars that lead to a phone call, especially for high ticket products. I want to be clear when I say this just for transparency. High ticket, we sell stuff for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But to be clear, you can go as low as about $3,500, and I'd consider that high ticket. $3,500 to like $5K, give or take the market. But webinars to calls, they crush. That's absolutely an S tier list in my opinion. That is a very worthy, just in terms of the amount of revenue and the probability of getting you to $1 million plus a month. We've had many clients that just with that one funnel strategy in itself got them to $1 million plus a month. If it doesn't get you there, hey, it gets you like 30 to 70% of the way there based on what we see literally right now. Okay, now this is one of my favorite strategies, and it encompasses a whole bunch of different strategies. So I figured instead of individualizing all of them, we'd just lump them all together in something we call content ad strategies. Now, novice advertisers who have not effectively spent money on content distribution in their life, they hate anything other than conversion optimized campaigns. They only run direct response. They think literally everything else is just an utter waste of money. And it's because they're not propagandists, okay? I don't have any tattoos, but I swear if I did, across across my forearm, I would write propaganda. That's how much I believe in the power of content distribution, effectively manipulating the minds of buyers to increase the probability of purchasing. There are many different content strategies that I have originated over the years and spent, without exaggeration, millions of dollars on. And I have seen tremendous impacts of them. A good recent example, we had a sales agency. They hit us up, said, hey man, I got this client. We're running call funnels and we're also running webinars, and the leads just show up terribly framed. The show rate's low. If they do show up, they say they're unaware. They just, like, I don't know what's going on, but we need a change, okay? And that's when guys like this, that's when they call me, because they know I'm a propagandist, okay? Content ad strategies, they always crush. So what do? Well, we come in, this client, by the way, they crush with content. So it was real easy. We didn't even have to get them to create much at all. Most of it was already there, because they're a propagandist themselves. Okay, so to be clear, what we do is we come in, and for this specific client, we still run the call funnels, we still run the webinar, but in between them opting in for a webinar and a few days after the webinar, we got a frequency of 52 on content campaigns in front of that specific demographic that opted in, potentially has a chance to book a call, books a call, and could buy. Okay, a frequency of 52 within like a week and a half most. Okay, now what's that do? To have 52 individual pieces of content shown to a person who opts in, has a chance to book a call, has a chance to buy. Well, it does a lot. It does a tremendous amount positive when it comes to the buying cycle and the effects on that. That's just one example of a content ad strategy. If we have a client who is pitching something that people don't know about, okay? There's not an idea in the potential buyer's mind yet about how that product could work in their life or how that service could work in their life. We need to distribute some propaganda in front of that potential buyer to help educate and frame them first, and then we need to hit them with some direct response after. Dude, there's unbound amount. Content ad strategies example, I could sit here and just rip off to you one after the other. But dude, content ad strategies, without a doubt, unquestionable, undeniable when you run content effectively and you're a propagandist yourself, they're the clearest S tier that I could put into this list, okay? Content ad strategies, I'm a huge fan and an originator of many. Okay, the paid lead strategy. Whew. If you don't know this one, let me break it down for you. So a lot of people, they just run low ticket, and believe it or not, they actually intentionally sell stuff cheap to try to make a profit on it. and they try to build a business off that, okay? Now, if you've watched any of the videos on my channels before, you know I'm all for selling to rich people, whether it's a product, service, like doesn't necessarily matter. I'm a huge fan of selling things that are high ticket. It's just math. The probabilities are substantially more in your favor when you're pitching things that are of a higher cost, because you need a smaller quantity of people to buy them to hit the same targets of revenue that you would have to get to with far greater quantities of people buying if you're selling something for low ticket in comparison. Now, respectfully, there are all kinds of products we could sit here and name that are low ticket that have made tremendously more money than some high ticket companies out there. But from my experience as a marketer, again and again and again and again, from my experience firsthand, high ticket is always the clearer path that has a higher probability to get there. So a high ticket business doesn't have to ignore low ticket potential though. What they have to do is they have to manipulate it to be in their favor to sell higher ticket products. We refer to that as the paid leads strategy. Now, the paid leads strategy is not a go-to ad strategy for us. It's not a go-to funnel strategy. Usually, like a good example, we have a client literally right now, they just won't stop talking to us about some like couple $100 product they want to test out. And that's fine. You know, like we're cool with doing that after we get the higher priority actions out of the way that have a higher probability to make more money. And now is about that time. This client has this couple $100 thing they want to sell. And to be fair, it'll probably sell. But we're not going to make $1 million a month selling this low ticket thing, but we will add a good couple $100,000 or potentially another $1 million a month to this business if we sell something low ticket, break even, and ideally profit on it, and then give that list of buyers to our setters or our closers to lay up deal into high ticket. All that revenue that they upsell if you're break even or profitable on the low ticket is essentially profit minus commissions to the sales team. That is a hell of a strategy, and it's very effective if you've got the right type of low ticket. The downsides to this though, and there are a few, that'll definitely keep it out of the S tier, I'll tell you that. The downsides are the fact that sometimes you sell something low ticket and it'll slow down your high ticket buying cycle. I know know, people want to go out there and get a result with what they've purchased before they'll just give you money for the high ticket thing immediately after. And that's unfortunately going to keep it out of the S tier class. It is something that I would consider a B tier strategy. And I want to be clear when I say this, okay? It can and sometimes has gotten to the $1 million a month benchmark. However, in terms of probabilities, it's just not as favorable as a webinar straight to sales. So from that perspective, we can't keep it in the A tier either, okay? We got to move it down to the B tier. Okay, next up are lead forms. Now lead forms, man, I love lead forms. I am a huge fan. I actually have an ad strategy that we refer to as the Hydra. Okay, and the Hydra, all it is we leverage the Facebook and Instagram, and in addition to that, TikTok lead forms that exist in the ad platform itself. We drive the traffic straight from the ad right into a lead form, and with the right sales team on the other side of that form, whoo-wee, man, it crushes it. However, and from experience, unfortunately, we have seen the opposite as well, where we'll drive qualified traffic into these lead forms. And here's the best part. The lead forms allow conditional logic. So the conditional logic being like, we can add qualifying questions that don't allow the unqualified people to hit the pixel. They don't even show up in the results column. We won't even collect their information if they're unqualified. It only allows qualified people to come through. But if you got a sales team that's like not good at setting, or they're just not good at adding value, and they're really selfish, you know, selfish salespeople, simply put, like, they love to just get on a call straight away. They love to just, yeah, like, I'm real excited to, you know, talk with you. Like, you got time to talk today. And to be fair, like, that's not bad to do, but like, you got to pivot when that doesn't work to adding a tremendous amount of value and selling the call, you know? And if you got a sales team that's not good at that, you got a sales team that's just selfish, or even worse, you got a sales team of fat cat closers. Fat cat closers are the devil in sales. They're the ones who sit back on their high horse and are like, I don't want to take anything other than scheduled qualified calls. I don't even want to put their information in the CRM and add notes. I am a prima donna and I deserve to just sit on the scheduled call list all day, have somebody else do all that nuanced, tedious, real salesperson stuff. Fat cat closers are the worst, okay? I am a huge advocate for real salespeople, and real salespeople thrive on lead forms. But man, unfortunately, it's a real 50-50, you know? I have a business literally right now that's raising capital. They close people at the lowest for 75K all the way up to 900K. Absolutely sweeping it. They just hit us up a couple days ago. They said, hey, we're in the process of scaling now. We're adding more salespeople. We're doing a $52 million raise. They're gonna do 100% of that through lead forms, dude. It crushes. But at the same time, once again, I've got calls in the past, hey man, lead forms are sucking ass. You gotta shut that off. So from that perspective, I know this is a little, you know, potentially controversial to put it next to the paid lead strategy after I just said lead forms are 50-50. But I'll tell you what, in terms of weight, lead forms are up there when they are successful. But you gotta have the right sales team on the other side of it. Definitely worth a test to find out if you got real salespeople or not. Okay, the DM strategy. So just to articulate this one to you, simply put, you're gonna drive traffic from an ad into a messaging platform. Could be typically Instagram, sometimes Facebook Messenger, but rarely, and sometimes also rarely WhatsApp, okay? Most of the time, this is gonna be Instagram. You're gonna DM back and forth with somebody via setters. Those setters are gonna set qualified people onto your closers' calendars. Your closers are gonna then do a closing call and ideally get revenue from those leads that are booked in with them. I've seen this strategy do $1 million months. I've also seen this strategy hold businesses back and only do like 100 to 300K a month. It really depends on how effective the setters are at scale. That's what makes this strategy a bit connish, you know? It has some downsides because of that. There's not a lot of tools, like you might use the Meta Business Suite as an example for your organization to tag leads and treat it as like a CRM for all the messaging. There are tools that exist. I won't sit here and plug any because I don't have any affiliation with them, but regardless, you know, I tell my students things like this. There are softwares that exist that can make it a bit easier, but to be clear, with the rules on chatbots, I will say if the rules on chatbots didn't exist, where you can only message people after the last interaction within the last 24 hours, man, DM strategies would crush a lot more than they do. They'd have far more pros than they do cons, but you gotta have people in there, and that's what makes it tough. The setters have to, at scale, talk with all of the new leads that come in every day, and they have to also follow up with all the old leads, okay? And that just becomes hard because there's not a lot of great organizational tools and tricks out there in order to do that efficiently at scale and effectively. So from that perspective, I mean, dude, the DM strategy crushes. Once again, really good for getting you to a good couple $100K a month. Not the greatest to get into $1 million a month, but I have seen it done. It's with higher ticket products that it typically hits $1 million months. With something that's like a couple $1,000s, you have a much higher probability of only doing a couple $100,000 a month when you're charging a few $1,000s for whatever your product or service is. So from that perspective, B tier, no doubt. Okay, now, very rarely nowadays, very rarely do I get the opportunity to drive via direct response ads or even with content ads mixed in straight to a sales page to sell something. The only time that really happens is low ticket nowadays. I have not seen, heard, talked to anybody that's a high-level marketer that is making $1 million a month driving traffic straight to a sales page. It's just not happening nowadays. I wish that it could, because man, it'd save businesses a lot of money on sales commissions, and I could control more as a marketer. I could tweak the opt-in rates on these pages or the conversion rates on these pages via testing, but unfortunately, it's just such a rarity that you see a business get to $1 million plus a month just driving traffic straight to a sales page. And so from that perspective, that's a D tier. That's our first D tier of the day. And it's such a shame. I remember back in the day, like this is way back in the day, there was a possibility, that could occur. Nowadays, it just doesn't even feel possible, let alone probable. It's just, oh man, such a shame. So much potential if it could work, But given the effectiveness, a lot of these other strategies that you could do, you just rarely see people putting any time and attention and effort, let alone dollars, into all the work that's required to get those straight to sales page campaigns to work. So anyway, all right, setters to closers. Now this is a common question I get. Do you drive traffic, whether it's a call funnel, a webinar to call, paid leads to a closer directly, or do you push that stuff to a setter? Do you need setters in your DM strategies, or should you just put all your closers in there? And it's real hit or miss. It depends on the effectiveness of the setting team. Setters' jobs are pretty simple. They're generally, from the business's perspective, meant to vet out leads, see who has a probability to purchase, and get those people onto the closer's calendars. If incentivized properly, setters can also be paid to get somebody to show up to a call. That in itself is an S-tier strategy in the instance that you're incentivizing your team properly to have people show up when you're using the setter model. I'm a big fan of the setters to closers. Unfortunately, though, it does add a step to the process, which I'm not a fan of as a marketer, because the fewer steps that we can have in the process of generating revenue in our marketing and sales pipelines, the higher probability we have to get money out the other side. The unfortunate thing is like setters can come in and kind of add a step of friction. So from that perspective, I don't think it's S tier, but I mean, I'll be damned if they're a B tier. I'm gonna throw that into the A tier category because once again, huge quantity of people we've worked with over the years that leverage the setter to closer model doing $1 million plus a month. But at the same time, once again, it is a step of friction, and I have seen it limit people to only a good couple $100,000 a month. And when you look at the statistics and you try to find a bottleneck and identify a contraction where everything is blocked from getting to the other side, setters can be that contraction point. So because of that, once again, it's an A tier, not an S tier, but still very effective. Okay, the deck sales letter, a very unknown, very unutilized strategy that both myself and a man named Josh Troy of the company Wires from Strangers, he runs, in my opinion, once again, one of the best sales agencies that exist. Deck sales letter is something that we originated. We found that we had a client. They had a really low play rate on their VSL funnel, and we were perplexed by this. We saw a really strong ROI on this particular deal, but at the same time, there was just such a low quantity of people hitting the page and pressing play. We had a headline, a video, and an application. And yeah, sure, I mean, if you don't want to watch a video and you're too busy or, whatever the justification is to not watch it, you're just not going to press play at all. You're just going to leave. Even though we were ROI positive, like I said, we didn't want to just let all that potential go to waste. So here's what we did. We took the presentation from the VSL, which was a deck, just a PowerPoint. We embedded it into a software that allowed us to embed it onto the landing page. So now it was a headline, a deck that somebody could actually like swipe through or scroll through, and it covered the same exact information as what was inside of the VSL. It was just presented differently. Once again, instead of pressing play and watching a video, you would just scroll through the deck and consume the information at your own pace. You can even go back, of course. And what we saw was crazy. These statistics were nuts. We saw that 70% of the people on the deck sales letter got all the way to slide 5 in the deck, which was like monumentally more people in comparison to the quantity of people that would press play on a call funnel VSL. And so the deck sales letter was born. We wrote up the SOP MVP for it. We started testing it on a few different clients. We found it worked best for busier and richer demographics that didn't really need like a personality to sell them something. It worked best for the clients that like raised capital. It worked best for the clients that was just like a really straightforward offer, you know, something that didn't really need like a person to push or promote it. And we have gotten clients to $1 million plus a month with the Dex sales letter. The drawbacks of it are pretty simple. It can't be used on every single client. Just from a probability perspective, it doesn't work on the ones that need a pusher, you know, that need a personality to promote whatever that product or service is. So from that perspective, it can't be S tier, but I'll be damned if it's a B tier.
And I'll be damned, I'll be disrespected like this.
No, it's definitely an A tier in my opinion. All right, so we got our last two here that we're gonna check out. And hey, these last two are pretty common in the world of trying to make a lot of money. So let's dive into our last two here and wrap it up. The VSL call funnel. If you've seen my videos, you've consumed any of my content, you know I am a huge fan. I'm probably one of the biggest advocates out there for VSL call funnels. Headline, VSL, we run mini webinars, we run just straight standard VSLs where somebody's got a script or just pitching whatever they've got, and we drive them straight to a call. We have that application using conditional logic on a funnel like this, pushing out all the turds and only allowing the qualified people to go through and condition our pixel on who to go after next. I am such a fan of the VSL call funnel. Again, if there was a tier above S that this could stand alone in its own category, I would put it there, okay? The VSL call funnel has just unarguably the highest probability with a proper sales team on the other side of it to hit $1 million months. It is the most common in the $1 million month clients we've worked with. It's the most common in my $1 million month students we've worked with. It's the most predictable. It's typically the least steps to get to $1 million months in terms of adds to the funnel. It's the best. I'm probably in love with VSL call funnels. You know, I regard it very close to my heart. Once again, I'd put it above the S tier if I could, but because S tier is the highest in our class today, S tier it is. The VSL call funnel, one of the greatest funnels that exists in hitting $1 million months. And this gets us to our last one, folks, the low ticket funnels, okay? As I mentioned, and I separated these for a reason, if you're trying to hit $1 million months and you aren't upselling the low ticket leads, you just mathematically have a much lower probability of getting to the $1 million months. That's all it comes down to. If I sell something for $10,000 versus if I sell something for $100 and I'm trying to hit $1 million a month, that once again, there's just so many more people I gotta sell the $100 thing to. I have clients that have millions of followers, subscribers, wherever the channel is and what they're referred to, that without exaggerating, they think to themselves, oh, dude, I'll give you a great example. I can't say this person's name just out of respect, okay? But this is like one of the most well-known people, arguably on earth from social media. And he constantly has a ton of women around him, okay? And this guy, he has so many eyeballs on his brands. Like he makes a lot of money, okay, on whatever he puts his attention into that he tries to monetize. And this guy was shopping for marketers and agencies, and naturally we came up on the list of people that might be able to help. So we got an opportunity to propose our plan. Now, what their plan was, which once again is extremely common amongst the demographic of people out there that are million, 2 million, 5 million, whatever amount of millions subscribers or followers and total quantity of eyeballs on their brand. They think to themselves, okay, well, if I sell something for like, $50, or like $100. Well, because I have so many eyeballs on me, it's like there's a higher probability people will purchase that and I'll make more money. And once again, arguably that can be true, okay? I'm not trying to say that it's false and it's not probable, okay? I'm just saying like it's the same lesson where I tell that person, I say, listen, man, like if you sell something that's $10,000 a month, okay, and you structure it like your version of an inner circle offer where people can go to one of your mansions and like you throw one of these parties that you're known for, and like on top of that during the day you have like business lessons, and because at the same time like you're a hell of a businessman, and you teach people these like social media lessons you've learned. Like, dude, $120K a year, and like, dude, look at the size of your mansions. You could get an event venue if you don't want to do it at one of your houses, and you'd still have so many people out of the total quantities of eyeballs you have on you that you would have a higher probability to, on a recurring basis as well, make more money selling high ticket than you would selling that low ticket like $50 a month product. And it's hard to convince people like this because, like I said, they're so determined just based on the quantities of eyeballs that they have that the low ticket thing is always the solution. And so anyway, fast forward a good couple months, honestly, maybe it's been a year now, and this guy's currently selling low ticket, okay? And no joke, like you look at the total revenue that's generated off of this specific info product that he initially launched, and you just look at the math once again of what I proposed he could be making off the high ticket stuff. And he wanted to do the high ticket, to be clear. He was sold on what I presented him, but he was more sold on like, okay, I need to do the low ticket thing first and then do the high ticket thing. I don't want to sit here and just sound like super biased for high ticket exclusively. I don't want to be right. I just want to make the money for the client. So from my perspective, like once again, what's easier getting $1 million months? Always is the high ticket. And in this guy's case, it was a recurring high ticket opportunity where he could charge more than any one of us sitting here watching this video. It's nuts, once again, the amount of revenue this guy could bring in recurring annually from that specific product. So anyway, point I'm trying to make, even the people out there that have the best argument, okay? The best argument for selling low ticket still make more money off the high ticket. Okay, one guy that we did get the opportunity to work with, a YouTuber, I'm not sure of his exact quantity of subscribers, but for sure in the millions, maybe even in the tens of millions. That's a car guy. And he does a certain version of real estate where, he teaches people how to go out there and make a ton of money like he has with that specific real estate vertical. And to be clear, this guy, same thing, millions or potentially tens of millions of subscribers, definitely eyeballs per month at the least in the tens of millions. And same exact conviction as the other guy I just talked about, okay? Point I'm trying to make, we were able to successfully convince him, like he was already doing low ticket when we first started talking with him. So he was selling something, I think it was like 29 bucks a month or something ridiculously cheap. He was making barely like tens of thousands of dollars a month off of it. And he unfortunately learned the lesson firsthand. He didn't talk to us soon enough of like, dude, don't do low ticket, like do high ticket. He was trying to make some serious money off this for what he was trying to promote. Now to be clear, as soon as he abandons the low ticket and goes high ticket, we encourage him to sell something for $50,000. There's so much value on the other side of what this guy's selling for $50,000. It's inarguable, okay? Inarguable, the value's there. He's technically the one getting fucked when he only sells it for $50,000 from how much money the person who's buying it is probable to make and has made since he sold this for, I don't even know, it's been like 4 or 5 years now. Now to be clear, this client, okay, we get him to $1 million a month in 90 days selling the $50,000 offer. Once again, over the course of like a year, working through different marketers, trying to hit $1 million a month, like a $29 recurring product, guy couldn't do it. So my point being, it's just low ticket sucks. It's just low ticket sucks. If your intention, once again, is not to do the paid lead strategy where you're trying to go from low ticket to upselling something, it just doesn't make sense. That's all it comes down to. $1 million a month doesn't make sense. Now to be clear, it does still have a higher probability to hit $1 million a month than straight to sales page. So it's not D tier, it's our only C tier of the day. Okay? Look, there are all kinds of funnels out there. There are all kinds of ad strategies. If you want to know exactly which ones you should be using, you want examples of them, you want clients like what I've talked about today in detail, demonstrating to you, hey, here's what they did, here's what you should do too. Here's kind of like the behind the scenes of that kind of stuff. I share that stuff to my inner circle students because they're high level people themselves and I can trust them. I can't trust YouTube. I can't share all these client details publicly out of respect for my clients, but my clients do give me permission to talk about it in closed doors. And that's what I get the opportunity to do in my inner circle program because I talk to people on a one-to-one level. I have one-on-one calls, I have weekly group calls where I go through things like this. I have masterminds 4 times a year in person or streamed remote in the instance you can't come in person. They're recorded as well. You get access to all kinds of great things when you join the Inner Circle program, in addition to our group chat full of rich people trying to get a hell of a lot richer. I'd love to have you join in. The link is in the description of this video. It might even be commented if you're lucky. And yeah, look, regardless whether you join or not, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like it, comment something that you learned or something that you think should be added to the list and where it belongs. And at the least, subscribe to the channel and go check out some other videos. My entire channel is dedicated to helping you hit $1 million months, and I hope I'm able to contribute in that journey that you're on. Enjoy the video and talk soon.